I wanted to showcase a few, actually five tools that I use during virtual events and for virtual events. And maybe some of you will be like, oh yeah, I've been using these tools for a while others will be more like, well, thank you for sharing, especially when not everyone out there is willing to do that. I know I've come across, plenty of people that in this industry can operate out of such a scarcity mindset. And for as long as I have breath, I won't allow that to be me or something that defines me. So be assured that I will always share what I learned and whatever knowledge I've gained so far. Okay, so this is something useful if you're an audience member joining a virtual event, but even more so, I'd say, if you're a solo live streaming producer that is producing and broadcasting events with or without assistance. I will have links and most likely a blog post that will showcase these tools that I'm talking about so that it's easier for you to go and check them out. I know that visually it's always better, to learn something. At least me, I learned visually. So if you're just listening to the podcast, it's not really quite the same if you're not able to go and see them in action. So fear not. I will have a link to the blog post that details all the below mentioned tools, which, by the way, are free. And that is great because I always like tools that are free and useful. So the first tool that I use a lot is a virtual test link that I share with all of my virtual speakers and guests, whomever I work with during virtual events. And I share it with them and I have them take it before going live. This is a great tool to have in your toolbox, especially if you haven't had the time nor the opportunity to meet your virtual speakers on that 10-15 minute, individual call to test their broadband connection, their camera resolution, sound quality, the lighting, the location they're joining you from virtually. And while this test doesn't necessarily cover, lighting and framing, it does a pretty decent job with the rest. On all of my virtual tech checks, I personally like to test for camera, audio, lighting, location, and speed, internet speed, which I like to abbreviate as calls. Camera, audio, lighting, location, speed. So that's the first tool. The second one is so simple. Really, it's silly. It's an internet speed test, as mentioned earlier. And I use this tool especially if I need to get more specific with having to know exactly the type of upload speed I am dealing with. And I will have my virtual speakers go either to fast.com or run an Ookla speed test. They're both, I feel like, kind of comparable and equally accurate in my opinion, in my experience. Although I must say, American upload speeds are generally much higher than, say, European upload speeds. So in so many ways, you will end up benchmarking based on the geographical location of your virtual speakers. For my virtual taste, like how that sounds, anything above 20 megabytes per second will do for someone calling in. As far as myself is concerned, to run one stream in 1080p, I would need to have at least 50 megabytes per second upload speed without having any packet loss. And now that we got to packet loss, if you recall, if you listened to, I think it was a September podcast episode that I recorded in some deep woods in Idaho, where, side note, I got attacked by chipmunks while recording. True story. I'm good now. I got out alive. Anyway, during that episode, I covered an array of essential terms to know when it comes to broadband and video streaming. So to recap really quick, packet loss happens when data packets traveling across a computer network fail to reach their destination. Think of all the buses that go to Disneyland. Now imagine one bus got lost along the way. That is what a packet loss is. And this term may refer to the loss of just one or several packets in a larger data transfer. And it's usually caused by network congestion. And I won't bore you with the whole definition of how video packet loss gets measured typically, but just know that when it comes to streaming video, packet loss can end up having a negative impact on the user experience because you're dropping frames and your video becomes choppy and blocky due to all kinds of bitrate fluctuations. And usually, packet loss happens due to network congestion, faulty or outdated hardware, or even software bugs. So, as a habit before a live stream and in the midst of a live stream, I always like to test and check the health of my internet connection with a network diagnosis tool such as Pingify, and I'm pretty sure I'm mispronouncing that, or by going to this URL that is called packetlosstest.com. If you're constantly dropping frames and encountering packet loss, you might want to take this up with your ISP, internet service provider. But that won't always be, a fast fix, and you won't always fix your issue. And it's something that, if you're in the middle of it, it's not fun. Resetting your modem, a router, and all the network adapters might lower the rate temporarily, but eventually, if you're getting a lossy internet connection, you'll be right where you started with high packet loss while you're streaming. So I guess this whole thing comes down to what are some tools that you can use. So another tool I found, especially if you, for some reason, are needing to stream maybe on a wireless network, the tool is called Speedify, and it's a next generation channel bonding mobile VPN service that allows you to combine multiple internet connection at the same time into one super pipe, like for increased bandwidth, while lowering some of the latency and minimizing some of that packet loss that you can incur when streaming. Speedify can bond any combination of 2 or more internet connections, and it will distribute the online traffic between each one of them for optimal performance. This is not necessarily a free tool, but to start off, they do offer some sort of a first 2 gigabytes of data usage per month free, which might be helpful to some of you. Before we move any further, I wanted to give a quick shout out to our main sponsor, Trifan Events, which is a boutique event planning and production agency that will come alongside you, offering personalized event planning and technical support, strategic event design, production and technology management, and flawless execution for live, virtual, and hybrid events. The team at Trifan Events is passionate about planning and producing event experiences that get people involved with true moments of interaction, engagement, and co-creation, while offering white glove treatment throughout the entire planning process, enabling you to reach your event goals with the use of creativity, production tools, and event technology. To find out how Trifan Events can plan and produce your event become memorable, go to trifanevents.com. The fourth tool that I'll be mentioning, I'm combining 2 tools in one. It's StageTimer.io and Time Is. StageTimer.io is a free web-based countdown timer that was designed as a speaker timer for communication between speaker and organizer during stage presentations or live events. And multiple internet-connected devices can join the same room ID and display this synchronized countdown. You can share a timer and even send a message to your speakers and highlight the message on the screen. You can synchronize multiple screens so everyone sees the same timer. And because the timer has a full screen mode, it scales to whatever size screen you are using. Time.is is a great tool for when you need to synchronize the exact time between multiple time zones. It will automatically display the time in your time zone by using your IP address to detect your location. There isn't much to say about this, but when you need to press play at the same time, this tool is excellent and a lifesaver when streaming concurrent sessions into an app, and especially if you're using an assistant located in a different location than where you are, it's a lifesaver. So I use it a lot and I've been happy with it. Last tool that I'm going to cover, it's a communication tool, but it's actually 2-in-1 again. And I'm going to mention here Slack and Discord. Obviously, everyone knows Slack. Slack is well known between teams when you want to communicate with your team. And it's faster and better organized, and they say more secure than email. What I like about it is that I can create those workspaces for different virtual events that I'm working on and invite to each one of those workspace only the stakeholders that are involved in that event and share relevant information on a need-to-know basis with anyone that's involved with the event. So I don't bombard everyone with information that they don't care about. Discord is an app that acts like a virtual comm and is the easiest way to talk over voice, video, and text. It's a tool that I think it's heavily used by gamers. I'm not a gamer personally, but I know it is. But for virtual events, you can create topic-based channels that can be organized, to communicate for specific events, or you can direct through Discord, especially if you have a director that's located somewhere else, or if you're producing an event with a team of people that are located somewhere else, or maybe you need to give your speakers, queue them up for when they're live, and all kinds of things like that. There's different channels and mentions. It makes it so easy to keep information straightforward. It also makes it easy to communicate without any latency. It's like near zero latency. It's super easy to use, and the video quality is actually pretty decent. And some people even use it for like podcasts, which I thought it was interesting, and maybe I should be looking into that. Anyway, this is it for today. And shoot. I did go over time again. Of course I did. Probably I might have to break this episode in two. I don't know. I guess we'll see. Either or, I am so glad that you are here listening and watching whatever method you're using to tune into this podcast. I hope this was helpful to you. And I'm actually super excited about my next featured guest. He's a big cheese in the world of virtual and hybrid events, and he's been endlessly active and passionate about sharing his knowledge and his tips, and especially strategy around how to embrace hybrid events. And I actually just gave you a clue, but I won't say anymore. I won't be able to keep this under wraps for too long. So make sure to follow my Instagram at 3fun_events if you'd like to know more about the next guest. The episode will air on April 25th, and you don't want to miss it. Anyway, thank you so much for joining. Thank you so much for being here. Go out now. Be blessed as you slay your giant.